silk robes, a chin lifted to the ceiling, and a smirk that nobody in this world has ever forced him to earn. You have seen this man walk into 1,000 stories, and you already know his name before anyone speaks it. The spoiled young master, the arrogant heir, the stepping stone everybody skips past to get to the good part. Most viewers roll their eyes the moment he appears, and they fast forward straight to the face slap without a second thought. But that is exactly the mistake. Pull him out of the story entirely and watch what unravels. The plot has nowhere to go. The hero has no ceiling left to shatter, no wall left to climb, and the whole world goes flat and meaningless without him holding the gate. Welcome to Cultivation. Welcome to Donghua. Welcome to the real reason this man exists. Because he is not a cliché, he is a structural machine. And today, we take him apart to see what is actually running inside. Across 10,000 stories, his name shifts and his clan changes, but the function underneath never does. He is the lock. The protagonist carries the key, and the door they are both standing in front of is the entire social order of a world built to stay corrupt. What this man is actually doing has nothing to do with personality and everything to do with economics. Because inside a cultivation universe, spiritual power does not flow freely to anyone who wants it. Every drop of it carries a price, and that price is controlled by someone who already has more than they could ever use. Spiritual veins, medicinal herbs, breakthrough pills, ancient secret realms. These are the tools a cultivator needs to ascend, and none of them exist in unlimited supply. They concentrate in the hands of the clans at the top, which meant that for anyone born outside those walls, the meter for effort required started at 200% and kept climbing. While for the young master, that same meter sat locked at 0. Apotheosis makes this visible from the opening pages, where Luojun starts not as an underdog, but as a slave, used by his own family's lower branches as a living target to practice strikes on. His cousin Luo Peiran did not outwork him or outthink him. What Luo Peiran did was consume the family's ancestral heaven and earth pill, a treasure that belonged to the entire bloodline, and use it to race several realms ahead. Not discipline, access. Plain and simple. Marshall Peak puts the same logic into a transaction, and that is where it becomes impossible to ignore. Young Master Bai Yun Feng walks into a sale for a high-grade martial skill priced at 100,000 silvers, and tables an offer of 50,000, fully expecting the seller to accept, because the gap between what he offers and what the thing costs was supposed to be filled by the weight of his family name. That is not a negotiation. That is extraction wearing silk gloves. Calling this fantasy is the mistake, because the Chinese web novel market drew 50.21 billion RMB in readers during 2025 alone, and those readers are not escaping a world they have never experienced. They are grinding 70-hour weeks under a system the culture calls Neichuan, which translates as involution. And what that word describes is a ladder where the rungs keep disappearing before your hand can land on them. You work harder, and the floor moves with you. And that is when the ladder stops being a way up and starts being a trap. The young master is not a fantasy villain dreamed up to annoy readers. He is the Fuertai, the rich second generation, born into assets assembled by someone else, shielded by family guanxi that nobody around him ever had to build from scratch. Earning his position never entered the picture, because the system surrounding him was architected specifically to hold his place, regardless of what he actually did with it. And that's the rage the reader carries into every chapter, the kind of fury that only comes from recognizing something you have already lived. Before we go back 6 centuries, one question for the room. Which young master burned the deepest under your skin? Drop his name in the comments, and let us find out who truly made this audience rage. Even conflict did not originate in web novels and cultivation towers. The genre inherited it from somewhere much older. A text written 6 centuries ago that already understood everything modern Donghua is still working through. Water Margin gives us Gao Qiu, a street hooligan who kicked the ball in front of the right prince on the right afternoon and found himself holding the rank of Grand Marshal of the Imperial Army shortly after, with no military experience, no record, and no qualification beyond that single impressed audience. That is the first generation, the scrapper who clawed up through sheer timing and luck. What came after him is where the problem takes root. Gao Yanei arrived with nothing. No martial skill, no military record, no earned position of any kind. And his entire social weight rested on a single asset, his father's name. The result was that when he spotted the wife of Lin Chong, an imperial guard instructor with a genuine record of service, he wanted her. And the system simply let him reach out and take, framing Lin Chong for attempted assassination, putting him through torture, and shipping him into exile at a frozen outpost in Changzhou. Lin Chong spent years on the right side of every rule, waiting, bowing, trusting that the law would eventually balance what had been done to him. And the law never did. Surrounded by assassins, in the snow, at a frozen outpost he had been exiled to on fabricated charges, that patience finally ran out. He fought his way through them, killed, ran to Liangshan Marsh, and crossed over into becoming an outlaw. And that changed everything. 6 centuries before the genre had a name for it, Water Margin had already written the first face slap in Chinese literature. It just required an entire exile to get there. 6 centuries later, Sun Wukong tears through another monster and wins the way he always wins. And that's when a celestial elder descends from the clouds to collect the body. The defeated demon turns out to be a lost pet, a runaway disciple, a stolen treasure that had wandered down to earth and burned a few villages along the way. A light scolding follows. The creature gets quietly reclaimed, and the humans it devoured on the way down remain entirely irrelevant to everyone with the power to care. Wu Cheng'en named this pattern in the 1500s. Monsters with backing. Creatures who operate freely because someone above them holds the leash, and no one else dares to pull it. Modern cultivation uses different terminology and different clan names, but the architecture underneath never changed. 6 centuries of the same ceiling, and 6 centuries of the same fury building underneath it. And beating the young master should end the conflict, and yet it never does, because the elder arrives, then the patriarch, then the ancestor, and the escalation keeps pulling upward with no ceiling in sight. The reason sits right there in the defeat itself. Winning the fight was not just a victory, it cracked his face, and that crack travels further than any sword would. Mianzi, the concept the genre translates as face, functions as infrastructure in these worlds, rather than as simple pride. A clan's face operates as their deterrent. The reason rival sects leave their minds alone, the reason the auction house stays under their thumb, and the reason the territory holds without constant warfare. None of that mattered, because when a commoner defeats the young master publicly and walks away untouched, every rival within range receives the same signal. The wall is cracked, and cracked walls invite pressure from all sides. Renegade Immortal follows this logic to its coldest conclusion. Wang Lin defeated Deng Li, the pampered nephew of a nascent soul ancestor named Deng Huayuan, and won the duel cleanly. But what followed the victory had nothing to do with the duel itself. Deng Huayuan hunted down every mortal relative Wang Lin had, massacred the entire Wang clan, and sealed 30,000 souls into a flag of souls for eternal suffering. This was not grief or rage. This was a signal broadcast across the entire country of Zhao. Touch the bloodline, and your whole lineage disappears with it. No court ever existed in this world. No judge, no external authority to appeal to. And the only law that held any weight was raw power. Wang Lin let centuries pass, returned at nascent soul level, and proceeded to erase every branch of the Tang lineage before executing Deng Huayuan himself. Not out of anger, none of that mattered anymore, but out of arithmetic. In a world with no law, the only resolution that actually holds is the one that removes the other side entirely. The genre understood what it was building before most of its readers caught on. And Arrogant Young Master Template A Variation 4 makes that self-awareness visible A protagonist reincarnates directly into the young master's body, reads the death flags already written on himself, and recognizes that somewhere out in the world, a heaven-defying underdog is already building the power to liquidate him and claim his storage ring. The result was a secret network trained specifically to detect the psychological markers of the Chosen One, a mysterious ring, sudden exponential growth, regressed memories. Instead of picking fights, he bows, he recruits, he survives. A genre that can satirize its own machinery has already proven it understands what that machinery does. And that's what this moment reveals. The young master was never constructed to be human. He operates as a program, a systemic function wearing embroidered silk. And once you can see the gears turning under the robe, you stop groaning at him and start reading him the way he was always meant to be read. Strip the young master out of the story, and the hero climbs nothing. The world holds no pressure, and the face slap lands on empty air. He was never the obstacle sitting in front of the protagonist. He is the proof that the world is broken, and broken worlds are the only ones worth the cost of fixing. This is Vanguard, and this is Hero is Back. The young master does not occupy the role of villain in these stories. He occupies the role of diagnosis. The world assembled him, and the protagonist has to crack the world open to move past him. That is not a trope writers reach for out of laziness. That is a tradition 700 years old and still burning clean. Your call. Is the young master a structural necessity or just a lazy writer's crutch? Vote in the comments. And if you want to keep decoding the machines that build these stories, hit subscribe.